Kim Jong-un orders North Korea to prepare offensive nuclear capabilities. This is where we're at right now. We're going to be covering a ton of stuff today, but there is, of course, a lot of events that have just gone down in the last 24 hours. So we're going to talk about this first piece, and then we'll introduce you to the rest of the team. It says that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has ordered his military to hasten practical and offensive war capabilities due to his ever-worsening security on the Korean Peninsula in the face of the U.S. and South Korea military exercises. Mr. Kim held a high-level meeting with ruling Workers' Party, Central Military Commission, and commanding officers at the Korean People's Army on Monday. The North Korean leader was pictured pointing to areas on a blurred map that appeared to be of a South Korea as he reviewed frontline attack operation plans as well as various combat documents. So as you can see the picture here, which again, it's all blurred out like he's standing in front of a green screen, or he is one. But one thing I want to point out is, yes, this is very well, could be to scare people. It could be that just they're bluffing. But this, on top of everything else we're about to talk about, with all of the leaked information, with all the documents coming out, it seems like it's almost, if it's not our side, you better hope it is. You better hope that this is all Ganda, because every country is preparing for the war that we've been predicting for 5 years now. So stick around. We'll talk about this and much, much more on today's episode of Marfoogle TV. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Everybody knows it, we were the chosen, left doors open, now we can close them. With the ocean, everybody knows it, we were the chosen, left doors open, now we can. All right, what is going on, fam? Hey, nice to meet you guys. Hey, a couple new people here saying that the first time. Thank you guys for being here, and I appreciate you. This is Marfoogle TV, so we're going to go over all of the current events that are happening right now. Just a reminder, if you are new, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com, and you can find a full bibliography, every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. In fact, all you have to do is look for today's thumbnail, months until declaration. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. And then, of course, once you click on it, this just in, we are this close. You'll find a full bibliography of all of our sources. So any kind of picture, document, any kind of article that we put here, we're going to have a source for. So make sure to utilize that. And if you are making your own videos, you can always use that as well. We encourage you guys to start your own channels and, of course, do the same and get the word out. All right. And then let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So let's just say that this is not total Ganda and they're not bluffing anymore. There's been all these crazy signs that, everything is popping off. But if it comes from North Korea, most people don't believe this. Well, meanwhile, the people that we have talked to that are actually in the military, either currently or former, they actually do take North Korea pretty seriously. Because obviously at the very top, they probably know what's going on, but down below, they are a serious threat. At least some of the folks we've talked to that have talked about their EMP capabilities and some of the other capabilities that they now have, including the radioactive tsunami technology, which they obviously got from Russia. I say that because Russia admitted that they actually gave them the ability for the super EMP and possibly even FOBs, fractional orbital bombardment system. And now they are saying that they have a submersible that can cause a radioactive tsunami. Why these radioactive tsunami torpedo things like the Poseidon that Russia has are important right now is because if it is air-launched, maybe there is a technology that even the public doesn't know about. Obviously, we know about defense systems. If it's shot in the air, even hypersonic speeds, we may have some sort of thing that can take it right out of the air. But do we have a system that can take out torpedoes, especially if there's dozens or hundreds of them launched towards our direction underwater? How would we stop that? You could put nets up, I guess, but if you're going to do that in the entire ocean, that would be quite a task. So how do you defend against a nuke that can literally wipe out coastlines? Seems to me like you couldn't. And those same nukes, if they are done in a big enough fashion, they could literally end the world. They are saying that they have about 30, and anything beyond that would be basically useless because that would be enough to take everybody out. So this is kind of crazy to think about that NK is doing this. Dex, as far as, I think it's kind of weird that that they blurred out the map before they sent it. How do we know what it is? You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's just pointing out his vacation destinations. But no, joking aside, this is a big deal. They are still basically in some sense at war with one another, NK and SK. They're just in this pause period where they've set up a DMZ and they have agreed to a ceasefire, and that's where they stand. So it's not that unfathomable to think that they could easily re-escalate. They've had skirmishes in the past, and don't forget when they did have the 3 years of battle between them, there was something in the neighborhood of like 2.5 million casualties from that. So it was a big deal. I think 1.5-ish on NK's side and almost 1 million on SK's side. So yeah, lots can happen here. It's always been a contentious area, and he has certainly shown no signs of being stable by any means.
No, and now they're talking about putting things on the offensive. Of course, you can poo-poo this along with everything else that's going on right now, but look at what is happening. Anybody that has, kind of any kind of intuition can kind of feel what is happening right now. With all of the leaks that are happening right now, there's going to be a lot. And the challenge here is to kind of put this together and make sure that, since it's so spread out over our whole show, just today, it's a lot of things that if you really put together all of these things happening at once, it's pretty clear something is going on. I'm confident that this is about to go down. And if it doesn't, people will say, oh, well, if it doesn't, you're going to look like an idiot. I don't care. I'm hoping it doesn't. I hope that there is no World War III. But my gut and my intuition and all of my common sense tells me that it is otherwise. And the reason I say that is not just because I'm guessing or somebody else said it. I've covered this every single day. I've covered every single piece of news and every piece of information that has come out through all the public sources. And of course, I understand that there's propaganda, and of course, I understand that they're guiding people towards towards notions, and they're guiding you to what to think. But at some point, they actually guide you towards what's really going to happen, and they do telegraph what they're about to do. Right now, every country in the world is preparing for this, and there's countries picking sides, which we're going to talk about. There's even more countries getting involved. This is what World War looks like. This is what World War II looked like before World War II. And this isn't to scare people. This is a prepper channel. If you're freaked out by this kind of stuff, it is voluntary. You don't have to watch. I firmly believe that we are now correct on this, that this is going to happen soon, and that, again, is not to scare people. Either way, we have the same loyal crowd. If you're new here, most of the people have been here for 5 years, and they've been following all this stuff. They followed us when we said that, CV, that there was going to be some sort of demic. It happened. Now we're fast forward, and you see all the signs, you see all the graphs, you see how they're working it out, how it's going to happen. They're planning this out. So it's pretty crazy to think about. NK is kind of a wild card, but if you take NK, China, Russia, Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, Brazil, South Africa, you take all of and a couple more that we're going to add into here. And then, of course, South Korea, all of this stuff that's coming out and leaking out. Something is about to happen. It's pretty clear in my opinion. And then massive, we'll get back into it. So again, here we're going to go off of the crazy stuff for a second, and then we'll hit back on it. Massive volcanic eruption sends ash cloud 12 miles into the sky in apocalyptic scenes. The doomsday scene showed an outpouring from Sheveluch volcano in Kamchatka, Russia, which spewed 300 miles into the region, turning snow black as ash. Cloud blanketed the skies. So, of course, there's going to be folks that are like, oh, really? It's in Kamchatka that it just happened to erupt. We've talked about, all sorts of different technology and different things that they've done over the years to alter things around us. Some folks I've already seen think that this is not a coincidence. Let me know what you think down below, but it says a major volcano eruption turned day to dark night in eastern Russia as an ash cloud spread for hundreds of miles. The videos show the doomsday scene after an outpouring of Sheveluch volcano in the Kamchatka region, which turned the snow black. Ash rose 12 miles into the sky, said reports, with a red warning to aviation from the plume, the highest category. An area of 41,700 square miles was blanketed in darkness, an area larger than Scotland and Wales combined. The ash cloud extends 500 kilometers northwest of Sheveluch and is still growing, said Alexander Ozerov, director of the Institute of Volcanology and Seismology of the Russian Academy of Sciences. So a huge, huge eruption. Dex, it's kind of crazy. Weren't we talking about Kamchatka over the last 3 days? There was a bunch of stuff going on in Kamchatka.
There's certainly some interesting things happening all over Russia. If you look at some of these pictures, though, like this car, like the next picture, I mean, that's a scary scene. And some of the other images of the sky, and obviously I get that a lot of this is, that's snow and ash mixed together, but still, very, as the title appropriately said, a very apocalyptic looking, that and the rest of the images in here. So kind of a crazy event.
Yeah, it's like it reminds me of the pictures of Yakima in eastern Washington after Mount St. Helens blew. I wonder how big this was compared to, say, something like that. That, of course, I wasn't alive yet for, but my parents and my family and even my sisters were buried in dark skies. The entire state of Washington was dark for a few days there. Go ahead, Dex.
Yeah, I'm just wondering too, like maybe a week from now we'll start hearing reports of this ash being in other places around the globe. That'll help tell us understand how big this really is. It's obviously big there, but if this ash cloud makes it all the way over to the US, that would be rather interesting.
And China is to require security assessment for new AI products, and they drafted a law around it. Surprising they did so. It says before providing services to the public that use generative AI products, a security assessment shall be applied through national internet regulatory departments. The draft law released by Cyberspace Administration of China reads, it says the draft law, dubbed Administrative Measures for Generative Artificial Intelligence Services, aims to ensure the healthy development and standardized application of generative AI technology. It says that AI-generated content, it continued, must reflect core socialist values and must not contain content on subversion of state powers. So one thing that is kind of a good thing for them, which is a horrible thing for anybody, is that if they limit their AI, then at least the main group of people, everybody there, I think that would limit AI moving forward into the scary stuff if they're always putting these kind of walls around it to censor everything. Dex, so they're essentially saying it must not also contain, among other things, terrorist or extreme propaganda, ethnic hatred, or other content that may disrupt economic or social order. But if they do that with AI, that also limits it, doesn't it? Does it not?
Yeah, they're not worried about AI taking over the world. They're trying to do that. What they're worried about is AI exposing the truth, and they don't want that to happen. So, very interesting. But it is on one hand, you gotta give a hat tip to the fact that they're actually putting in rules, or at least trying to create a law to restrict AI, something that we should probably be doing around the globe, and we should be doing here in the US. But on the flip side is the reasons they're looking at doing it are very different than the reasons the rest of the world is looking at doing it. They're just trying to protect themselves and their own butts, and their own form of rule, and they don't want anybody to be subverted from that. Versus, what horrible things AI could do on its own, left unattended, which I think is a much more dangerous idea than having AI tell you that your government is, treating you badly.
Well, think about it. It says that China has announced ambitious plans to become a global leader in the field of AI by 2030. Odd choice of years there. The consultancy group McKinsey estimates the sector could add about $600 billion every year to China's gross domestic product. So if you look at like where they are heading or where they are trying to head, they are trying to take the United States' place in a lot of ways. And there have been many here that say, oh, their economy is about to collapse. Well, that's also a reason why you would probably go to war as well. As far as the war could end up bringing them an advantage that they could take advantage of for 6 months, a year, 3 years, if they end up getting control of one of the biggest chip manufacturers in the world. They are also leading in AI, leading the U.S. in 37 out of 44 key areas in this kind of technology. They are actually leading. There's other technologies that are mixed up in that 44, but they're some of the most important in the world, and there's even a chance that they might monopolize a good chunk of those. There was actually a graph that came out and that was put out by our side that unfortunately admits that China is ahead of us in certain areas, which is really scary when you think about what strings they are now pulling. I think it's kind of like right in front of us as far as what strings they're pulling. I mean, we see the obvious ones, like where they tell media companies to change something because it's too USA or too patriotic, like trying to CGI erase the Statue of Liberty out of the last 30 minutes of the new Spider-Man movie because it was too patriotic. I mean, like that, they seriously were thinking that they were going to delete basically the whole ending of the movie. They wanted to CGI it out of the movie, and they were dead serious about that. Taking the Taiwan flag off of Top Gun's jacket, right? Off of Tom Cruise's jacket. Little things like that. That is the kind of stuff that they are controlling behind the scenes. And the only reason we know about those two is because they said no to the request. They're saying yes to these requests all over the place. If you look at mainstream and if you look at the actual mainstream companies, look at the companies that are backing them. Look at the sponsorships. Look at the oligarchs from China, which again, if you think about it, to get rich in China, which there are more billionaires made there than here now, by the stats that are coming out of these Chinese cities, almost all of them are doing so with China has the right to basically take all of that away. There's been celebrities there that have made millions, if not billions of dollars, and if they do the wrong thing, they can strip that away in just a second. Basically, they are allowing them to become billionaires, but they can take that back. They're basically saying like, well, we allowed you to make money in this world, so we can take the ability for you to make money in this world. My point though is all of the changes that are happening, you can see it in movies, you can see it everywhere. If you haven't noticed that mainstream, like big blockbuster movies keep talking positively about that country, I mean, it's really noticeable in a lot. Even the new Moonfall movie, basically China's spaceships come in and save the day. You'll see an example like that all over the place. Somebody could make a whole channel pointing out all of these little weird things. And then when you look at the production companies, it's these big investment groups that are solely, they're invested in making sure that the reputation of that country is up. So I think it's pretty clear to see the strings being pulled, not only in that sector, but in politics, in everything. I mean, there's huge claims that I could say here, but most of you are probably already thinking it anyways. Thank you, everybody that has popped into the chat. Thank you, Foogle fam, Kelly. Thank you, Usual Sunspot. I appreciate you. And thank you, Matthew, it looks like. Let's see here. Thank you, Matthew Michael. I appreciate the super chat. Says my guess is cow. And then thank you, EOD Vet, Ilea, LOD Will, Zen1AZ, Stephen McMahon, Redeemed, Rhino Knightley, and the rest of the Fugel fam that has popped in. Don's Ulcer, thank you so much for the super chat. Lonnie Grimm, I appreciate that super chat as well, right out of the gates. Thank you for supporting Independent. And then leaked Pentagon docs share wild rumor that Kremlin plans to throw Putin's war while he's getting chemo, which still isn't exactly confirmed in itself. This is from Vice, so keep that in mind. The leaked documents suggested that a top Kremlin general would sabotage the conflict while Vlad is distracted with cancer treatments. Again, they haven't confirmed that he actually has cancer. There's just been rumors, and a lot of that came from the general SVR. Mind you, about 50% of the general SVR's predictions / stuff has come true. The other half is just not confirmed or can't be confirmed. It says the leaked Pentagon documents contain a rumor that Russia's top general is conspiring to, quote, throw the conflict in UKR while Vlad is getting chemotherapy. Now, this just doesn't make sense. He has enough people in his circle, although they paint this picture that everybody in his circle has been thrown off a roof. I don't think this is actually possible. But, of course, this is what they're saying. Dex, look at the source from this. It seems like a very poignant op-ed, but what do you think about this?
Pentagon documents are the ones saying it. And if they have reference to it, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true by any means. we know there's all sorts of nonsense that can be going on there, but basically the leaked Pentagon documents are pointing to this particular scenario, and this scenario has certainly been drawn out and spoken about from other officials. We've covered numerous times how they've claimed that the military would be the one, the leadership would be the one in Russia to actually, do something against him if that comes down to it, whether it's take him out or have a coup, or in this case, maybe sabotage the progress in the conflict while he is, incapacitated or not, at his full strength. We don't necessarily know the dates around this particular piece of intel. But this intel does bring light that kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of the stories we've talked about and questioned in the media, for sure.
Okay, so just for a second, let's talk about the leaks that have been happening. If you're totally clueless, there's all these documents popping up on social media. And here's the thing. Dex and I talked before the show, and we were, I wouldn't even say it was debate. It was more talking about why we are seeing this. Now, first of all, Elon even made a comment. What was Elon's comment about deleting things off the internet? Do you remember what that was? He talked about...
I'd have to paraphrase it. It was something to the effect of, you can't, whenever has deleting things off the internet really worked? It's, if anything, it really draws more attention to the problem. So he didn't say it exactly like that, but it was something to that effect. Yeah.
So, but in general, there's many people coming out and saying, they're deleting it. And we know that they're deleting it. They're telling us that they're trying to wipe and scrub this off the internet. Yet if they really wanted to, and this is something you kind of have to believe or you don't believe, that if they wanted to, especially knowing with what was going on with Twitter, the media would be told, hey, don't talk about it. I mean, think about how much coverage they covered about the laptop. Think about that. If they didn't want these documents covered, even if, as they're being scrubbed off, and even if they're getting released by the dozens onto the platforms, I mean, heck, who wasn't talking about the laptops and stuff, but mainstream still didn't cover it? The point here is that mainstream is covering these documents and covering them nonstop. It's not just independent or alternative news or Substack or anything. It's everybody. And that is suspicious. But at the same time, these do not make us look good. This is actually pissing off other countries. There's stuff in here that's being addressed. If the president of our United States wanted to, there's a lot of social media companies and mainstream media that they could send an email and say, do not cover this. It's a national security thing. Don't cover it, whatever else. And I guarantee you they wouldn't. But they are. And not only are they covering it, they're covering it nonstop. So just think about that for a minute. They can stop almost anything, even if it is legit and absolutely truth, they can stop it. They don't care about the ramifications if 2 months later they find out it's absolutely true, and that they always have a fall guy. They'll just have somebody resign or have somebody take the blame for it. That wouldn't matter. But at the same time, why would we put out something, or why would we allow something like this to be talked about or put it out that makes us look so bad with all these other countries? I almost think that it's that like they are trying to ruin our relationships with some of our allies. And well, why would we do that? Well, maybe we are not doing that. Somebody above us who's infiltrated us has done that and is now trying to get all of our allies to basically say these guys are messed up. This is bad. These guys are spying on us. There's been multiple things that makes multiple countries pissed off in these leaked documents. And it doesn't, to this time, look like these are completely fake. They are more saying that they're not denying them. They're saying that these are dangerous and it's a dangerous thing for the security thing. They've said that they've been fudged as far as like they've swapped the numbers of how many perished in UKR. They've put out the offensive plan of UKR, and we'll talk about it here in a minute. Apparently UKR is going to change their counteroffensive plan. And we talked about when this was released. Was this released to stop them from doing it? Maybe they released it so if everybody knew about it, their plan would change. It almost looks like that would happen. So was this Vlad the bad guys, or was this good guys, or was this both? Like, this is really, really weird. If you think about it, this information is not helping. This is really bad. By the way, our former president, T-Man, he just posted something like World War III, right? Can we get his quote? He just posted that like in the last couple days, right? Over on Truth, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what the date was. I'm going to go look. I'll give it to you in a second.
And the reason it's like we literally have our former president saying that we're, putting out World War III. It's like, what is actually happening right now? Are these the good guys? Are these the bad guys? Is this enough? I mean, like, they are putting out crazy information, and are they going to put out more? And the more that comes out, are we going to lose allies? Well, we've already lost a couple. It says Egypt secretly planned to supply rockets to Russia, leaked U.S. document says, which probably means we're spying on them too. It says President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of Egypt, one of America's closest allies in the Middle East and major recipient of U.S. aid, recently ordered subordinates to produce up to 40,000 rockets to be covertly shipped to Russia, according to a leaked U.S. intelligence document. It says a portion of the top secret document dated February 17 summarizes purported conversations between Sisi and senior Egyptian military officials, and also references plans to supply Russia with artillery rounds and gunpowder. It says in the document, Sisi instructs the officials to keep the production and the shipment of the rockets secret to avoid problems with the West. It says the Washington Post obtained the document from the trove of images of classified files posted on February and March on Discord, a chat app popular with gamers. The document has not been previously reported. The disclosure comes as Russia is fighting a conflict with UKR in which both sides are seeking resupply of depleted arsenals. Well, all of their allies are popping in. What do you guys think about this? First of all, it says in response to questions regarding the document and the veracity of the conversations it describes, Ambassador Ahmed Abu Zaid, spokesman of Egypt's foreign ministry, said that Egypt's position from the beginning is based on non-involvement in this crisis and committing to maintain equal distance with both sides, while affirming Egypt's support to the UN Charter and international law in the UN General Assembly resolutions. It says, quote, "We continue to urge both parties to cease hostilities and reach a political solution through negotiations." So they did not deny it. Once again, pointing towards that this is not only true. They're also not going to probably, complain about them being spied on because they were doing something horribly wrong, according to their allies and to their relationship with us. So they're playing both sides. And this is something that you see right before war. When you see two-faced countries basically helping both sides, or essentially saying one thing and doing another, that's what ends up happening. And then before we talked about the Pentagon's leaked docs show Russia and China's reach in Latin America and the Caribbean. This is also something we called, and Fugel fam have called, and military members in our group have called. That I knew that this all was going down years ago, and we talked about how they were drifting farther away from us. But we'll talk about that here in just a second. I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield. If you want to protect your cars, your trucks, of course, your motorcycles, your boats, even your generators, gas or solar, in the case of the Energy Flex 1500, you can actually protect it against all three phases of an EMP. In fact, if EMP after EMP starts hitting, this will ground the signals in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your car, boat, ATV, whatever you have put this on, before it can kill it. So this can also protect you against CMEs or coronal mass ejections, Carrington level event, and it is Keystone military tested, and it is actually used by agencies like DOD, DHS, and the DEMSO team. We started with them when they were a tiny factory out of Kansas making these by hand. They, of course, after that got huge government contracts. At one point, we didn't even know if they were going to continue selling to civilians. But they have continued. The founders are all preppers. They're in our community. They were in way before they started this. In fact, Andrew, one of the main guys, it was a YouTuber long ago and did a prep channel. So you guys should check out. He actually currently has a new channel. And of course, this company is a American-made and veteran-owned business. So go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. You'll get $50 off per device, and you will end up helping our independent channel at the same time. We're on our own. We don't have a multi-channel network. We don't have a multi-billion-dollar business behind us. We have you guys. So thank you for doing so, and you won't regret it in the case of an EMP, lightning, or a CME happening. You'll be able to get home or get out to bug out. Dex, go ahead.
I have that post for you. It's in Screener.
All right, perfect. So check.
And while you're pulling that out, it was he did a few posts on Easter Sunday in all caps, and that was one of them.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, you can poo-poo it because it's T-Man. I mean, are you kidding right now? I mean, just think about that. This is the former president of the United States who, has been out of office. It's not like he was 1980 president. This is our last president saying World War III. He's still very, very connected. He's still in on things. Who knows? Maybe we'll see if he gets in trouble for, I don't know how you could get in trouble for this, but what if he knew something that we don't? He's still supposed to get briefings. Maybe it's because of all of these leaks that are happening. I don't know. But this goes along the timeline that we have talked about. It's not going to be 2027 when China takes Taiwan. It's not going to be 4 years from now when all this stuff goes down. You've got NATO boosting up, putting 300,000 people in NATO countries right now, in addition to everything else. They're putting anti-tank measures up in Poland. They're digging 50-mile trenches on both sides of the border. Finland just joined NATO. And then, of course, you have, now we're going to talk about it here in a minute, U.S. forces on the ground in UKR. You think I'm joking? We have sources. We have sources behind it. You can go look for yourself. They've now admitted it. Exactly what we thought it was. They can hide it for as long as they can, but the civilian population will be told last about all of this. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think about our former president just straight up posting World War III? I mean, that's just creepy. And then Pentagon leaked documents show Russia and China's reach in Latin America and the Caribbean. Dex, do you want to cover this real quick?
So these leaks, we're getting all sorts of information out of it, and which is really why you got to question, why is everybody covering it and why is it out there? So, but in this particular one, they're saying that both Russia and China are engaged in South America, which we know we've reported on. But from the leaks, they were confirming that Vlad's mercenaries were looking to set up and pitched a plan to protect Haiti after we, had problems with negotiations that we were doing to try to solve the problems there. Also, there were things about the going in and using Brazil and offering to mediate. So there was some stuff with Brazil and Russia, and then also Xi benefiting from Nicaragua and others. So a lot of information is coming out of this, and it's not like it's just one leaked document. It's like hundreds of documents, but there are various different pieces of assets that are pretty can be insightful in some ways, can validate some rumors in other ways potentially, or in some ways are actually destroying or hurting the US. So that's why you got to question, why is it coming out and who's putting it out and why are they allowing it? I know you said it before, Adam, that the media could easily not cover this. They could choose to not cover it, or they could be told not to cover it, which we've seen them be told not to cover other things like laptop stories, and they don't say a word. They just move on like nothing ever happened. So if they wanted to bury this, they could bury it.
Not only could they bury it, I mean, they could do all sorts of loopholes that they used for other stories, and it's not just a laptop. It's a ton of them. So what do you give us your opinion? Give us your side of it down in the comments down below, especially if you're watching the replay. Thank you over on DLive. Thank you everybody that has popped in. Again, we have the regular crew and some new faces. Johnson, Skyhouse. Thank you, Chance, for modding over there. I appreciate you. And Jammer, of course. Skyhouse, Beer Juice, Renegade PD, Love and Light, and Johnson. Thank you for supporting over on DLive. Appreciate that. And Dawn's Ulcer. Still get a kick every time I see that name. Dawn's Ulcer, Nana of Montana. Thank you for the massive support of the show. I appreciate you. Thank you for supporting Independent, and thank you for stopping by. Again, you've probably once a week come and said hi and supported. We really do appreciate you. Thank you, Nana Montana. It's not necessary, but it is so much appreciated. So thank you so much, Nana. And then Zenwin AZ, thank you as well. Thank you for your continued support. And again, you always try to pop in and say hi, so I really do appreciate you. Thank you, Zenwin. And Western Special Forces inside UKR. At least the leak shows. And everything else has seemed at least not denied, right? Remember when one of the specialists, or this I think it was a Navy SEAL, he ended up perishing in UKR, but they said that he had gone AWOL from the SEALs and then ended up in UKR volunteering to go into war. Now, maybe you could say, oh, he went AWOL, but then was like, oh, that's a lot of money, or was going to get paid to do it. I don't know. I think that they don't, and I think they said he was a straight volunteer, like he was volunteering, not even a paid mercenary or anything. But again, the point is, it was just weird. You're going to be one of the most respected soldiers in our military, a Navy SEAL, somebody that's incredibly talented, go AWOL, which is technically a horrible thing here, and then go volunteer in another conflict. It didn't make sense. And this is like 5-6 months ago, right? We said maybe he's not AWOL. Maybe they said that. Maybe he was sent there, right? That's just a side theory. Well, now they're admitting it. And we have talked about special forces in UKR to help with gear and to help, instruct. And at that point, we said this is super dangerous. If a missile or an attack hits or something and takes one of them out, even just one U.S. force or troop there, if they die by Russia's hands, that's World War III. But it says that the presence of Western Special Forces in UKR has been the subject of quiet speculation for more than a year, but it's never been confirmed until now. The U.S. Department of Defense is still dealing with the consequences of one of the largest leaks of classified material in recent years, most of it relating to the conflict in UKR. The documents marked top secret paint a detailed picture of the war, including highly sensitive details of UKR's preparations for a spring counteroffensive against Russian forces. It says one document has piqued widespread interest. It says that the UK is among a number of countries with special forces operating in UKR. According to the document dated 23rd of March, the UK has the largest contingent of 50, followed by Latvia 17, France 15, and the US 14, and the Netherlands 1. The document does not say where the forces are located or what they're doing. The numbers of personnel may be small and will be doubtless fluctuate, but special forces are, by their nature, very highly effective. So Dex and I talked about this before the show, and we talked about the show called SEAL Team. I have not yet watched a lot of it. I've seen just a couple trailers of it. But Dex, you've watched the show SEAL Team, and it's basically every episode's based on kind of the stuff these guys do. More the point is that these are the most elite soldiers in our whole military. These guys, one of these guys can do the dirty work of 50 guys. You can send in a team of six of these Navy SEALs, and they can take over a country. I mean, no joke. These guys are extremely effective. They are trained. They are the best of the best. They're the all-star team. Dex, isn't this a trip that they're admitting they have some of the most highly effective soldiers there on the ground, boots on the ground in UKR?
It certainly is. And so they're saying these are special forces that are operating. So UK having 50, a SAS team is usually about 22. So you could basically estimate that they've got two teams there. The U.S. has 14 people there, and typically a special operating group in the U.S. is somewhere in the neighborhood of I think 12, give or take, depending on the type of team. So that gives you an idea. We may have a team there, but going back to say the SAS, I think they actually say that a SAS team has the strength of 400 to 600. A 122-person team, and that's how they measure themselves. So to think about the type of power that just one U.S. special ops team or two SAS teams, SAS being the UK, for those of you who don't know, it's their version of it, that's significant, and they can go in and do a lot of damage. They can do a lot of covert stuff. They can take things down, take things out. They can target stuff. They can extract things. So there's a lot that can be done with those special forces, and for them to confirm that those numbers are there, that's pretty significant. And it's the first we've actually officially heard it. We've talked about it. We've speculated. We've said it ourselves that we'd be crazy to think that they're not there. But they've been saying you can't cross that red line. If you do, it's a totally different ballgame. And here we have confirmation that the ballgame has changed.
And even if it's not true, but Russia believes it, if it's not them that actually put it out, then it's not good either. But we should show you what the official narrative said as far as the UK is concerned. It says, in line with its standard policy on such matters, the UK's Ministry of Defence has not commented, but in a tweet on Tuesday said that the leak of alleged classified information had demonstrated what is called a serious level of inaccuracy. It says readers should be cautious about taking at face value allegations that have the potential to spread misinformation. It didn't elaborate basically it still doesn't deny it. It doesn't say that they're real, fake, whatever. They're just saying seriously inaccurate. That could mean that they have 120 soldiers there. They always do things in a way where they can have plausible deniability later on. This one, they're not even denying it. They're just saying it's, seriously inaccurate. And then leaked Pentagon documents say that Russia almost took down a British spy plane near UKR. This would have been World War III. This just happened on September 29th. This event was apparently, it almost went down on the 29th. It says a British spy plane flying over UKR was nearly shot down by a Russian fighter jet, according to a leaked Pentagon document circulating on social media. The surveillance plane was flying off the Crimean coast on September 29th. Such spy planes are usually used to collect electronic messages, such as radio transmissions. According to the document, it was nearly taken down by a missile shot by a Russian Sukhoi Su-27 fighter jet Shooting down the British plane could have been momentous enough to bring the United States and its NATO allies into the Russo-UKR conflict. So another interesting thing about this, these are very specific claims. It seems to me like these are real, but why are they being put out? What is the goal behind this? Is the goal to help Russia or to help this goal of going to war? It's pretty wild if you think about it. And then Dex, do you want to talk about the leaked U.S. assessment?
Well, real quick though, there's I do want to touch base on this UK issue. The UK defense. So the reporters started digging in on this to try to figure out if it was legit or not, right? And aside from them not saying it was or wasn't, like they did with the others, they did find that in October they made comments about an RC-135 and having Russian jets fly recklessly near it. So this kind of lines up with that story. And they also said that while Wallace added that a jet released a missile at the time, he did not disclose that the confrontation was nearly a shoot down. So they sort of validated that this really did happen, but in the classified documents, we're getting a lot more detail. Like it was really close, not it was just some jets that came by and he happened to drop a missile. It was a malfunction. It wasn't something that he actually targeted. Well, the real story, or at least the story in the leak document, is no, he actually fired upon him and missed. And if he'd have hit him, it would have changed everything.
Yeah, he actually released the missile. And then, Dex, I'm going to have you cover the assessment. Warning about Russian hackers accessing sensitive infrastructure.
So this is really fascinating too. So this is coming out of specifically, I believe it was Canadian gas and power infrastructure. And the leak is also talking specifically about how Russian forces are believed to have been able to infiltrate that, and hacktivists broke into that earlier this year. Well, it came out today that Trudeau basically announced that, yeah, that actually did happen. So again, we're getting validation. Now, he kind of brushed it off as it wasn't a big deal, but it is in some regards, because it's, again, validating these documents that are coming out. So I'm not going to judge whether the documents are real or not, or what parts of them are real or not. But the question I keep asking is, why were they released? And why are they being pushed so much in the media right now? It seems like there's something to this, not the actual data that we're getting in here, but the creation, what the data is going to create. In other words, it's not about a hacktivist doing something to the gas lines or the gas company's website back in January that Canada didn't bother telling anybody, but now today has to own up to and say, yeah, it did happen. That is, in and of itself, it's an interesting story. But why is all of this in these classified documents, and why are they allowing it to be pushed out? There's something going on here.
Also, you got to think of how good their systems are. If they did want to, delete this off the internet, they could get serious. They could make an announcement that anybody that shares it is going to be arrested, or it's just something to scare the crap out of people. Would delete that thing right away. I don't know if they can do that. But again, you would think that they would do something like, if anyone is in possession of this or something, you're done, which I would assume. But if you look at all these news stations, they're all getting copies of it. They say they're grabbing it off of whatever these things are, and they're all passing it around. Even if they delete them off the internet, everybody's got these things filed, everywhere. They've got them hidden away. Like Dex said, what is this going to cause? It seems to me this is the setup for the World War. This is to get everybody on this page of that. This is really getting bad. This is bringing in parties for the whole world is getting involved in this thing. It is specifically pissing off a whole ton of people. It's bringing out a lot of bad information all at once. It's not taking us away. It's not pushing us away from war. It's pushing us into a war. What do you guys think, though? I'll go over to the chat here for a second. I do want to say hi to everybody. What do you guys think? Do you think that I guess let's press 1 or 2 or 3. One is, do you think that this is helping negate a war? Is this helping to avoid a war, number 1. 2, or is this helping push us into a war? Or 3, it has no effect. Monk of me, let's see here, gene spliced. So 1, if it's not helping. 2, if you think it is helping. If it's not helping get us to World War III, or 2, if it's pushing us into World War III. Yeah, look at Jesse's World. 2. That was Jesse's fault. Jesse pressed 2, and the 2 telepathically hit the intro button. But yeah, Love and Light, Shores Running, 3, helping more. Rizar, I didn't communicate that the best. Helping to push us into World War III would be 1. 2, no, that would be number 2. 1 would be helping avoid a war, like if all of this information comes out. Number 1, is it helping to reduce the tension? Or 2, is this worsening the tension and getting us closer to a World War III? Why it matters is obviously something is going on here. Why is media sharing this stuff? Is it our own side that is helping us? This is like the big tee-up. This is like at T-ball, the little stand that holds the ball. This is the tee. It's setting it up for out of the park home run. That's what I think here. And a lot of folks at least agree with the basic, that this isn't that this is not helping us. It's pushing us into a worse situation. And again, they're also saying this whole thing around a cyber event happening. Remember how Davos said that it's 86% chance, actually no, 93% chance that there would be a catastrophic cyber event that would happen in the United States. Or I think they were saying to the world. It actually might have been general. But they said 93% of the world's top cyber experts are calling to prepare for a cyber event, a catastrophic one. Something like a infrastructure grid down type of thing, or complete infrastructure failure of our stuff. That is what they are saying is a probability or a possibility in the next 2 years. Why they said specifically 2 years, but that was the prediction out of the Davos meeting just a few months ago. And then, of course, they said 86% of them. What was it? 86% of the business leaders agreed. So all of the very top CEOs said the same thing. And then look at all of the different, prep that all of these rich and elite are doing. There's been more golden passports sold in the last year than I believe the last 5, which is pretty crazy. All right, and then before we move on, Pentagon documents leak Russian AWACS aircraft in Belarus blown up by SSU agents who disobeyed order. We'll cover this in just a second. I do want to remind you, if you don't have extra food lying around, that marfooglenews.com/prep has you covered. And again, you can get a 3-month supply of freeze-dried food sealed in Mylar bags, then sealed into buckets that take up almost no space, that can get, again, a person through 3 months with food. Again, you can actually split this up. If there's 2 people in your household, that would be 45 days worth. Or if there's 3, that's a month each. If you do want to bulk up on food like this is great because it lasts 25 plus years and you can get it at today's prices. This in general, freeze-dried food, because of how it's done and the price of everything, this has tripled in the last 3 years. Freeze-dried food in general has tripled. So if you think about that, in 3 years from now, if it triples again, you will still have 22 years left on the shelf, and you'll be able to beat inflation. So go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. You can use this not just for SHTF, but for a storm or for a natural disaster, earthquake, tornado, hurricane, or just power outages or rolling blackouts. If you have a disaster, which most of you probably have, where your local store has been emptied, then this is something that you should really think about, because it can just be put to the side. It's not like you're going to just eat it when you get hungry. And again, it's something for emergencies only. So marfooglenews.com/prep, you'll save $200 off on the 3-month supply. Again, you do not need a code with this one, so make sure just to go to the website. You will automatically be given that discount. This one, they've made a custom link, so it's all included. You don't have to do a code for it. So there was some confusion about if they needed to do a code or not, and thought it wasn't working. But yeah, use that code and you will get the discount, and you'll be helping our channel at the same time. And Dex, let's go over the Pentagon documents leak. Russian AWACS aircraft in Belarus blown up by SSU agents who disobeyed order.
So yeah, not a lot to this, but yet again, another one of the things coming out of the leak. So they're saying that the documents that come out of the U.S. Leak are saying that the SSU are definitely responsible for doing it. That, and you guys remember we covered this. It was like a little mini DJI type style drone attack on top of this AWACS plane sitting at the field in Belarus, and it was taken. I think it was the Marfoogle Air Base is how you pronounce it. It's probably not how you pronounce it. It's how I'm butchering it, but that's where it happened, and it did a lot of damage to the top of this AWACS plane. Obviously, it's a very thin fuselage, and all that equipment that's on top, all the sensors and stuff. They had dropped some small. They dropped drones on it that had small explosives. So apparently, what they're saying in this leaked document, these classified documents, are actually making the statement that those agents were told not to do it, or that they weren't supposed to do it, but they did, and they're saying that it was the SSU, which, if you recall, when it first came out, some were claiming it was them, some were claiming it was someone else, and then of course Belarus was coming out and saying, no, we don't think it was them, because they didn't want to blame anybody or necessarily give them enough credit to say that they did something so significant.
Which in the beginning, many parties did not find it possible for them to do something like this, especially closer, to what that time period. So obviously it's pushing the reader to some conclusion, right? Another thing is all of the different leaks. All of this has been spread so far and wide. Every single newspaper, every single outlet, this is what we are focused on, right? So just remember, we always make sure to check all the back page stuff too. All of the side kind of things that are going on right now, we always archive over on marfooglenews.com. So remember that down below in the overflow, which we'll talk about at the very end, there's all sorts of other extra stories to go with today's show. So you can always grab a second tablet, and if you want to go read ahead or read some of that, you can go and feel free to do so. But there's a lot of stuff, and then you can use this. This is archived. You can use it as up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a search. So if you see something, you go, wait a second, didn't they have something like this on that day? You can search a general keyword in there, and it will find the show that we covered it and the articles and the sources for it. So it's a really, really powerful tool, especially if you're a creator. So make sure to utilize that if you haven't already. And then leaked documents may have origin in chat room for gamers. This essentially says that it's basically from Discord, right? The first thing I thought was just like right off the bat when I heard this, I said, oh gosh, are they going to take down, are they going to start going after gamers, right? Go after gaming chat like Discord. But they already control Discord. Obviously, we know right before when the whole President JB and President T-Man, everybody picked which one. They basically shook out Discord, and they shook out all sorts of groups, including any group with any kind of number of military in it or any kind of patriots. This is a major leak of classified U.S. documents that's shaken Washington and exposed new details of its intelligence gathering. May have started in a chat room on a social media platform popular with gamers. Held on the Discord platform, which hosts real-time voice, video, and text chats, a discussion originally created to talk about the range of topics turned to the conflict in UKR. As part of debates about UKR, according to one member of the chat, an unidentified poster shared documents that were allegedly classified. First typing them out with the poster's own thoughts, then as a few months ago, beginning to post images of papers with folds in them. It says the posts appear to have gone unnoticed outside of the chat until a few weeks ago. So this information was actually there since it was fresh, or pretty dang close to it, and nobody even noticed. That's kind of absurd. It also makes you wonder. It kind of makes you go back in time and go, what was going on back just a few weeks ago? Like, when did this come out? Did they say, did we do something to piss somebody off? And they said, well, we're going to have, there's going to be a response for this. What if China hacked this and put it out to try to force all of this, force our hand? It says the records have provided startling and unsurprising timely details of U.S. and NATO assistance to UKR. They're also providing clues about efforts to assist UKR in its war with Russia, including an anticipated spring offensive. One thing I thought about this is, remember when Russia hacked the UKR satellite or something like that? Dex, do you remember when that happened? But I was thinking that wouldn't have top secret, stamped on it or anything, because that wouldn't be a physical piece of paper. That would have been a hard drive on some satellite, because they accessed a huge treasure trove of information. And that was early on. I was wondering, how that means somebody on our side must have put this out, right? If they physically had the paper with top secret on it. Think about that. If it's stamped, aren't they saying that these are stamped with it?
Well, and some of them are stamped with, there's a term, I can't remember if it says no foreign, F-O-R-N. There's a term for it that not only means it's top secret, but also means it can't be shared with foreign agents that are allowed to have access, like the Five Eyes. They're allowed to have access to certain top secrets. So some of these are labeled that way. So if that's the case, it means it could not have left the U.S. Or it could not have left U.S. hands unless something illegal happened. And in this case, obviously it's coming from someone, and I guess it seems obvious. It seems like logical, not obvious, but logical, that they're trying to say it's coming from someone in the U.S.
It was us. It was a leak from our end, right? Or somebody who's infiltrated us on our end and then released it. A spy that's here that possibly could be in the position of doing this, or this is on purpose. It's hard to rule that out right now, especially if it has the no foreign eyes on this, basically. And it was top secret, and it actually had papers. Some of them, like they said, have folds in them. Like, these were papers. This wasn't downloaded off a hard drive off of a satellite or something, or hacked. And not once have they claimed that this was hacked. This is leaked. There's kind of a big difference, because this might mean that we have a huge gap in our security, or we have a huge gap in a whole lot of other stuff, that we've got infiltration at the highest levels. Did you hear that? I don't know if that translated, but that was a perfect plop. Anyways, so yeah, that means that we have literal information coming out from super high security clearances getting put on Discord. And it seems purposeful. UKR alters counteroffensive plans in after the document leak. So that also says something. If they're telling them that they've changed their plans now, that means that this put out their actual plans. Is there any of their actions that say that this was not a real event? That's what's kind of getting me about this. It says UKR has been forced to amend some of its military plans ahead of a much vaunted counteroffensive due to a leak of classified U.S. documents. So they're actually changing their plan. And then, what does that say to you right there? It says U.S. officials are trying to find the source of a leak of classified documents detailing a wide array of topics from UKR's air defenses to Israel's Mossad spy agency, which were apparently siding against what's-his-face, Netanyahu. And then we have now or never, UKR readies for difficult counteroffensive. Dex, so they're preparing for this, this part of the conflict where they're about to go into Russia. Russia has actually dug a almost 50-mile trench, 50 miles behind the front line, so they're expecting some sort of massive conflict. Or are they digging that trench for something way bigger?
Yeah, they have been talking about this counteroffensive, and we've been reporting about this probably for the last month now. It's been getting just a ton of airplay. So it's got to happen. It's getting it. They keep saying it was going to be late March, and now we're into April. So they keep pushing. If they're pushing it back, or if they just haven't actually made the progress that they wanted to make yet, or they just haven't started it, and they're waiting for more things. Whether it's the Patriot missile system, which should be there now. It should be any day now, because I think last time you and I talked about that on the air, I looked it up, and they had wrapped up that training at the end of March. And so the training was done. They actually sped it up and got it done in a shorter amount of time. So all of these things are lining up where this gear is rolling in. The training is done. Everything is sort of setting the stage. And some are even looking at this and saying, hey, it's setting the stage for NATO. Others are saying it's just setting the stage for this counter offensive. And then, of course, the goals that they're trying to put out, which are very lofty, which is not just push back and take the land that they lost, but also go all the way to what they lost in 14 with Crimea. So as well as push across the border, not necessarily to claim land, but to push back their invaders into their land. So that's all big. Aspirational, to say the least, given the history of what we've seen actually happen here. So I guess we'll have to keep watching, but this is coming from, some of the military there and their comments about, what they're trying to do, getting, again, building up the Ganda around this whole notion of this major offensive push that's coming.
Scruffy to Puffy says, look at those trenches are not for war. Look at World War II trenches. What do you think they're for? Are they a moat? I just thought about it. I was thinking, like, what else could they be for? Some said that they were large enough for vehicles to drive through. So, I mean, that seems kind of logical. But what do you think they're for? I just had a quick thought, just since when you said that, I didn't even question that. Like, a wave of water? Maybe that would, I don't know, slow it down or something. I think about the, the crazy radioactive tsunami thing they have. Just thought, what would it be for? If it's not for war, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Well, no, but it's got to be for something, right? Absolutely something, because it's a huge 10-foot trench that's dug down like 10 feet. Dex, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, it is definitely wide enough to drive vehicles, definitely deep enough that you can have those vehicles be traversing through there without being seen. It is not your traditional human necessarily dug out with a shovel trench like you might see, quickly put together in lines like you had in World War II or something like that. But they certainly, I want to remind everybody, when we talked about this yesterday, it was actually built by by contractors that they brought in and didn't apparently may not have even paid them, promised to pay them, but didn't. So they had these people build this trench. It wasn't the military. They contracted it out.
So that could explain, but also they would probably give them some general thing, because if you have a trench that's more like a trap, then what help is it? I guess they could have ladders up and use it, but trenches generally were kind of like this, so they could crawl up on it, put in placements, and be able to fire from it. I don't know though. What else could that be used for? It could be they could put a train track down and move things from different sides of it. They could put a one of those old school train and track things and have supplies go back and forth. That would actually be a lot smarter. Would a trench be different now that we have technology? They could have drones that end up taking supplies back and forth, or ammunition. Think about this. You could have a line of soldiers and then behind it a track with different robots or drones that are bringing ammunition back and forth to where it's needed. somebody could press a button and automatically a computer-driven drone would bring them ammunition instead of a human being. I mean, this next conflict's going to be nuts if you really think about it. I've also seen and covered Russia has these ATVs that are they can carry up to like 800 pounds, and they are autonomous, or they can be driven by an operator, or they can put on tracks. And I thought about that just now. But I was thinking, man, that would be, if you have a front line, say one section is out of ammo, they could press literally a button, kind of like the button you press at a store to get help, and it would come and bring you a resupply or something. I don't know, but that it's pretty trippy. It's 50 miles wide, or 50 miles long. And then as far as the, somebody else said, Anthony Moose says it's released by us, that it's something, if you believe otherwise, that's stupid. That's exactly what we've been saying. Like, it's coming from our side. It was supposed to be on our end only, no foreign interference with it. It has its physical documents that people took pictures of. It has to be leaking from our side, and it very well could be purposeful. But what does that mean? That must mean that we are infiltrated to the point where we have people trying to screw us over. Which only backs up my theories about things. Which, by the way, I don't know if you guys have noticed this lately. We've been talking about Taiwan and China. Have you guys seen all of the random names coming in and saying Taiwan is China? Have you seen that? Did you guys notice that over the last couple of days? I hope the more you guys know, the more you're like, oh man. And my comment back to that was Million Man Army, if you guys know what that means. It's kind of freaky, and it kind of worries me actually to think that they're always watching. And then Russia's Wagner claims it controls most of Bakhmut. Hev says forces holding firm. Before we go over that and more, go check out the Flex Tactical if you do want to back up power supply. This may not be exactly for you. In fact, Energy makes several devices. But if you haven't got into solar generators, the Flex 1500 is the one that I have. This is, again, an expandable solar generator, so you can essentially expand how much power you can store. And then, of course, most of these come in packages with solar panels. So you can put the solar panel out, get energy, unlimited energy from the sun, store it for whenever you need it, and then keep it on standby. What's really, really great about these is they can be modded like Legos. There's different mods that change the overall performance of the unit. So if you can imagine, you can sandwich this in between the battery and the head unit, and you can actually change it into a UPS, or an uninterrupted power supply, and add a rapid charger. There's also another one that can actually be added in to triple the input of solar panels. So right here, they actually show going from 4 panels up to 12 into a single generator. So that is something that you can actually sandwich in there, and it has more inputs. That's a huge thing as far as solar, to be able to alter its performance. When you look at the actual reviews, and they'll put the Flex 1500, they'll put the base unit. But what's crazy, and what the advantage it has over a lot of the others, is that you can put in a unit, you can get this permanent unit, you can put in the middle of it, and then all of a sudden you can triple that. Then it goes from, equal with everybody to way up here. So keep that in mind. Also, when you're looking at reviews, that you can change it to be at the top of that list. That's what's so awesome about it. You can build it up over years, or you can build it as you go. If you can only afford to get one battery at a time to build up your stash, this is great. You don't have to pay $5 a gallon gas, and it's stealth. It's absolutely quiet. Nobody is going to hear it from 3 blocks away, which, again, in an SHTF situation is going to be really vital. It's definitely good to have a gas generator. If you already have one, it is great. But again, you have that noise factor. So you might want to go with both if you haven't already. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. And that one, you do want to use the code Marfoogle, because it will get you a special discount, and you're going to be helping our channel at the same time. You're getting something that's built like a tank, that's reliable, and again, will last for a very, very long time. Also, check out the Kodak X2. That's an all built-in one. It has a higher battery capacity than, say, one of the Flex 1500 batteries, but it is built in. So you can't expand it, but you can hook up to 2 of them together. These are great. They're portable, and they're built like a tank. They're also really pretty and extremely useful. All right, marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. All right, and then the Wagner Group keeps making there's just been this back and forth. It's kind of stupid when you read it from our point of view, but we don't know how much of this is Ganda and how much of this is made up. Because if you think about it, this is their hired group and these mercenaries that they hired, but they're constantly arguing, or at least that's what we see. The Wagner, even Vladimir Putin himself said that Wagner, after they said, well, we've taken this area, Vladimir Putin and their documents said, no, you didn't. That's just weird. But Dex, they're saying that they control most of Bakhmut. What do we believe?
Well, this is the never-ending saga about the capturing of this town. They have gone in. They were strong at one point. Even Milley and others told UKR, "Hey, you guys are just wasting your time. Get out of Bakhmut and go elsewhere. You can do much more with your forces in other locations." They didn't listen. They stayed. They kept pushing back, saying that they had claimed the city. This is a back and forth, and ultimately, what it looks like now, in my opinion, is this town is completely destroyed. There's like hardly anything left because it's been under constant, fire, so to speak, and it's almost pointless. Like it's really just and I think the UKR even says this, so I don't want to take credit for it, but it makes sense. It's really a symbolic importance at this point because there's nothing left. And so now the question is, are they just going to keep going at it on this town forever, or is somebody going to finally give up and say, okay, enough? Again, this is just one side right now. I'm sure we'll hear later, that the UKR side says, no. Well, they actually did say in here that they're holding firm. They didn't acknowledge the 70 or 80% claim that is coming from the Wagner Group, but we're gonna continue to hear this coming back and forth until it's done. At least this one town, until it's done and it's been claimed, because neither side seems to want to let go, or has the strength to push 100% all the way through. That's another interesting point: the fact that they have been holding on for so long.
And don't miss the important part here. It says that Kiev says it needs more and better Western weapons to beat Russia. So that's a big ching ching, or I think it's cha-ching, not ching ching, but that's the other side. But essentially, that's probably a taxpayer check being wrote right now. And then Russia and UK are tighten conscription rules ahead of spring hostilities. So you see it on both sides, but more so the folks in Russia and some of the bloggers have actually been talking about they are tightening the rules because they are about to mobilize even more. They've put up mobilization centers all over Russia. I don't know about what is actually happening in UKR, but some of the really inconvenient stuff that Russia doesn't want to admit is coming out of Russia, and it's stuff that even our media does not admit, that they are massively mobilizing. Russia is putting together tons and tons of troops together. I don't know how good they're going to be, but they have these conscription rules going on. It says Russia and UKR have tightened their conscription rules ahead of a widely expected UKR counteroffensive in coming weeks. In Moscow, the parliament rushed through legislation on Tuesday, making it significantly more difficult for Russians to dodge the draft and automatically banning registered conscripts from leaving the country. In UKR, where men aged 18 to 60 have been banned from leaving the country since Russia launched the full-scale invasion last year, the government on Tuesday approved rules allowing recruitment centers to send summonses anywhere in the country. Previously, summonses could only be handed to men at their registered addresses, but tracking them down proved difficult due to large-scale internal migration as a result of the conflict. Both countries' conscription changes come amid continuing Russian attacks and as UKR calls up and trains thousands of new soldiers for its own counteroffensive after both sides suffered huge losses on the Eastern Front. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that the changes aim to improve the military registration system and have nothing to do with mobilization. In September last year, when Russia started mobilizing recruits to the UKR frontline, hundreds of thousands of people fled. The Kremlin does not think that the changes will cause panic and a new wave of emigration. The point that they say that, though, that is why they would say, don't worry, it's not related to mobilization, because people are going to flee, or even a whiff of it, they're going to leave beforehand. And this is what families think about. They go, well, parents and kids that age, they will say, you need to leave now, otherwise you will be conscripted. Anybody that has a kind of a gut feeling on where this is headed probably thinks that this is going to be a thing where on all sides, even here, that there will be a whole lot of people called up. Folks here are talking about our draft. Think about that. People are worried about the draft here, and we're not even in this conflict yet. Think about what they think there in Russia or in UKR. Of course, if they've got a 19, 20-year-old son or something, they're probably worried about them getting conscripted. So it's believable that some of these guys are dodging and bouncing out of there. And then, Vlad, do you want to cover this? Vlad. Vlad's there. Dex, do you want to cover this Vlad piece here?
Oh, that was the live blog. We can skip that.
Oh, no.
That's just
the Indiana fire. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. So in Indiana, apparently there was a huge recycling plant that has basically been on fire, maybe even exploded as it started, but it's prompting evacuations of about 2,000 people. This is semi-breaking. It started earlier today. So it's in the city of Richmond. We actually have a lot of folks around that area. And even in addition to that, we had Wages send us some videos that he got from that location. So, and just make sure you're playing that without any audio. I think he said he took the audio off, but just keep it down in case, because it's literally them driving around. This is the scene they saw outside their town from this huge explosion. And apparently this is going to continue. This is huge. It's going to take a while for them to put this out. I don't know what's behind it. It's very early for us to understand any of those details. But some of the video he captured is just absolutely,
it's amazing.
Amazing.
And look at that. I've never even seen a Family Dollar. Gosh, look at what they're doing to that street. That would suck to live there. Their entire street's gone. But check that out. This is exclusive. You will not see this anywhere else unless it's on Wages' channel. So thank you, Wages, for sending this to us. While he was like driving down the street, he was sending this to me, and I was like, holy moly, is this your video? I could not believe it. Wages is, of course, our mod, and then he is a creator that has a huge channel himself. He follows all of the solar activities. He's nearing 60,000 if he's not there already. So make sure to go find him over on marfooglenews.com/friends, and you will see that there's they have all of the mods here, and then, of course, all of the Friends creators. Wages World is right here. He is going way too slow for how talented and nice and generous and awesome this guy is. He helps out everybody around him. He sacrifices his time to help others. Make sure to go over and subscribe to Wages World right now. All you have to do is go to marfooglenews.com/friends and then push that. Unfortunately, if I push it, it will unsubscribe. So I'm not going to do it, but if you tap that, it will automatically subscribe. And then, yeah, so that's pretty trippy. Here's a third video here. And he said it was a mile from his house. Like, this is right. He's right there. That looks like a volcano. This is on top of yesterday. We had that dairy farm that blew up and just caused an enormous fire. This was apparently the abandoned plastics factory. So, Wages, honestly, man, I wouldn't have been that close. But you didn't know anything at that time. Like, at the time this thing happened, he had to literally look and see what was going on. Think about all the nasty chemicals that's in that cloud. And another thing, you haven't even really heard about this much, right? But think about this. If those are plastics being burnt and it's that kind of cloud, what kind of health hazards is this going to be? And no one's even covered it. I mean, not really that much. It's on all the main things. They had some initial videos, but I bet you this may turn into the next Ohio thing if this is dangerous chemicals. Do we even know yet? So look at that cloud. It has made weather over there. That whole thing is just this. I mean, that's not just like a normal fire. That's a gigantic plume. I can't even imagine what the actual fire looks like. That looks like a wildfire out in the woods of thousands of acres from miles away. But he's right there. Dex, go ahead.
So they did an evacuation around, and hang on a second.
Hold on.
Am I clear?
You are now.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that, folks. I promise you I'm not AI. That's the joke in chat. It always happens. But apparently they cleared about a half a mile radius. So over 2,000 people were removed or asked to evacuate that area. So they're looking for something. And then the other interesting thing is, the other piece of information we found is it's a former Hofco factory, which closed in 2009. So it wasn't even open. So was something going on there, or what caused this fire to break out? And what is actually there that's accelerating this much if the place was closed? That's also another mystery.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Lucky Marciano says, yeah, it's a plastic plant in Richmond. And then Vicky Brooks says, yes, it's dangerously toxic. It's hot plastic. I mean, if you've ever accidentally like touched a piece of plastic to your stove and known how strong that is, it's fresh in my brain. The corner of a Ritz box was like barely touching one of the flat top things, and ours is really easy. If you bump up against it, you have to push it in and turn it to the side. And the Ritz box was just like in the middle, but a corner of it was there. It burnt through the box and really quick went into the plastic that holds the Ritz. And that plastic smelled so bad. And it was just the tiniest corner of that. And it took like an hour to get that smell out. And I was saying, I mean, imagine an entire factory of that kind of plastic being burnt. Wages, I'm praying for you. I hope that, I don't know, man, if you have family that's away from this, I might leave and go somewhere else for a couple days. Like, this may be coming to cities downwind. Like, that's horrid stuff. How did it catch fire? Why do these fires keep happening? This is 2 days in a row we've had these massive fires like this. Willie Hunt says the fire chief says it was loaded from floor to ceiling, wall to wall with plastic. Are you effing kidding me? Jeez. Lisa R. Hall, thank you so much for modding, and you guys make sure to, again, throw prayers Lisa's way, and I appreciate all of the folks wishing her daughter well. Again, that thing is over, but it's not completely over, so thank you for the prayers for Lisa's daughter. And then Cloudwalker, thank you. Ian DeBow says, I think my neighbor is growing chronic. Swear that my house smells like it, and I don't smoke. Welcome to all of Washington. Now you can buy it like just basically like walking into a 7-Eleven. You can go and get it. It smells everywhere here. You can be driving on the freeway nowhere near houses, and you can smell it from other cars on the freeway. It's insane. Anybody here can vouch for that. You'll literally be driving around and you smell it at stoplights everywhere. It's everywhere now. It's like a virus that makes you eat Cheetos. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, so these videos are also, again, the Wages World will, his channel is over on the show notes. And we'll make sure to, of course, make this available if we can. And then, of course, let's go over to the web only. Let's go over some of the crazy stuff that's been going on here.
Wow, there's some crazy stuff for sure. So, for those of you that are new here, we're about to tell you about the rest of the story. So, it's real easy. Go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or even easier, open up the description in YouTube and Rumble and click on the show notes link. It'll take you to this webpage where we just covered all the stories. So, you can get all of the sourced article links to everything we just talked about. So, if you're curious where it came from, what else they said, it's all there, the bibliography. After that, you're going to find this orange bar that says overflow. This is the rest of the story, the rest of the news that either goes along with some of the things we've talked about. Maybe it's topics that are a little too controversial and people like to argue about, and we're not going to start fights and chat over, or just some other very interesting and fascinating topics. So it's all right there. It's the rest of the story. Go check it out. The world's scariest exorcisms. If you're curious about that, they actually interviewed a handful of these exorcists and had them describe what to them was some of their worst ever experiences they had to deal with. That's kind of a crazy story. If you want to see that, everything from snake eyes to levitation, it's there. Very fascinating, but also very creepy too. Hey, as we talked about the leaks, there's, obviously JB is apparently facing all these awkward talks, as they're referring to it. And it's true. I mean, as we said yesterday, they reported that they were spying on SK, like South Korea. And that's kind of, that's an ally. It's frustration for them. So now there's a whole lot of cleanup that's now having to be done, which sort of, again, begs the question, how did this happen and why are they pushing it? Definitely have some of the updates going on, additional updates around the globe, specifically around UKR and what's going on with Vlad there. We also have some updates around the issues with China and the South China Sea specifically. And then also a march that was going on and that's continuing to, hopefully it's not going to continue to escalate. I'd like to see, and we'd like to all think that that's going to de-escalate, but we'll keep watching as that goes on. So we've got all of those updates, especially around those hot areas around the globe. Of course, we got some of the political coverage of what's going on. We always have what's happening in that spectrum on both sides. So it's all there if you're looking for that. And even a story about a particular bang bang that is pretty popular that apparently has had numerous issues of going off all by itself. And that means like when it's on your side. That's not something you want to have happen, but apparently I didn't realize there was this many reports of this. So if you're curious which one that is, go take a look. It's in the article and it'll tell you about all of the different instances that this has happened. So all of that and much more, including some stuff with Elon, who went toe to toe apparently with Matt Taibbi over the whole the deal with censorship, that and much more. Oh, don't forget, look out for these certain rodents that are out there. So the nutria, I think is what it's called, is taking over. So you want to know about that, it's on the website too. All of that and so much more. Didn't even give it all to you. So go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link in the description. It'll take you right here.
I think it was odd that all of the Sig Sauers that went off on the sidearm, apparently they all had one thing in common, which was they were all listening to Jump by Criss Cross. Make you want to jump. Just kidding, that didn't happen, but you get it. They jumped and then pow, Cheddar Bob. All right. Anyways, have a good night, guys. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Thank you so much to Neil Nelson. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. LOD Will. Thank you. Nana of Montana. Carol, thank you for the super sticker. Stephen McMahon, Carol, Zen1AZ, and of course, Don's Ulcer, Lonnie Grimm, and Matthew Michael. Thank you, everybody that supported on that end. And then over on D Live, thank you, multiple folks with the diamonds. Michelle K, Cognitable. Okay, I had it in the budget. And then Michelle K says, my son's 30th B-Day would have been this Sunday. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. And I Michelle K, as you probably know, I've had family very close perish, and I talk about the anniversaries we have. So I know what you're feeling. Well, God bless your son and wherever he's at. And, of course, I'm sure he's up above us. Yobi, hello all. For some reason, I was still on YouTube. Beer Juice, Sky House, Renegade PD. We've got Johnson. Thank you, Love and Light. And thank you, Chance and Jammer, for holding it down. Chance, thank you for your support as well. Thank you guys for helping Cab 7 over there on D-Live get that Easter contest done. I think today is like the last day. I think it's till tomorrow. So if you want to support somebody over on D-Live, support Cab 7. Let him get that first prize, because I know he'll probably end up giving it away to other creators. All right, guys, love you. Thank you to your mods, Lisa R. Hall, Wages, all of the greats are down there. So thank you so much. Love you guys. Be safe. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Be prepared. And Marf out. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shout. A shoutro. Where's the play button? Why is it not playing? Something is wrong here. Oh, that's it. Wrong with the ocean. Everybody knows it. We were the chosen. Left doors open. Now we can. Now we can. We can close them. Wrong with the ocean. Everybody knows it. We were the chosen. Left doors open. Now we can. Now we can. We can close them. Wrong with the ocean. Everybody knows it. We were the chosen. Left doors open. Now we can. Now we can. We can. Thank you, everybody, for making it tonight. I appreciate you. Lisa R. Hall, thank you. Nana of Montana is the top supporter tonight, so we got to make a song for Nana. Now we can close them. Wrong with the ocean. Everybody knows it. We were the chosen. Left doors open. Now we can close them. Jump, make you want to jump. Pow! That's what I'm talking about. Listen to that 90s hip hop with Megatron. Luckily, Megatron never goes off on his own. Well, he does, but it's always against my other Optimus Prime, so. And it's little tiny bullets. And like, pew, pew, pew. Nah, I don't have to worry about it. Everybody go hey, everybody do what they do. Hey, everybody gonna walk on the fire, terminal, way. I'm crazy bumpy, pretty cool, dagger and son. Hey, now, potato, bite them. Hey, now, be on the bag, shaka bada, shaka haka bagger. We can close them. Wrong with the ocean. Everybody knows it. We were the chosen. Left doors open. Now we can. We can close them. Wrong with the ocean. Everybody knows it. We were the chosen. Left doors open. Now we can. We can close them. Wrong with the ocean. Everybody knows it. We were the chosen. No, it's actually more like my cell phones are powered by energy. This is the Kodiak LT. This is the small one. It just died because I just charged all of my other stuff. But this comes in handy. And you can hook it up to a solar panel. Think about that. Let's make a fresh one for Nana of Montana.
Bye.